Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast Beating the Press with your two hosts, myself Ty, and we've obviously got Chris with us as well. Before you ask, I did ask him to wear the Beating the Press t-shirt, but he's fucked up again, so that's all on him. It's got nothing to do with me.
This is the whitewashing on a Wednesday.
I saw you scrambling just before we started. Yeah, we thought. I mean, we had a plan what we were going to talk about today, but obviously with the sort of news that's broken from sort of South America, for me anyway, one of the greatest players of our generation and sort of growing up, he was the main man. Diego Maradona obviously passing away. I mean, he's 60, so young, and when I sort of like open up Twitter and you see it, R.I.P. Maradona, and you're not thinking, you just double check, you do all your sort of own due diligence, and I genuinely felt sad, and I can't remember. I mean, there's obviously been a lot of famous players died over the last sort of 30 years. That's the one that's probably hit me the most. I mean, obviously, I've got no sort of, he's not family or anything like that, but there was that emotional connection with him. He was the one that you sort of, I mean, for the kids now, they see Messi and they see Ronaldo, but Maradona was the first world superstar for me. Then it went like Maradona, then it went Zidane, then Ronaldo 9, then Messi, do you know what I mean? So that's the sort of, Maradona's the first person. He was the most naturally gifted footballer I saw initially, do you know what I mean? And then obviously Messi sort of come on. But yeah, no, I just felt he deserved his own. I mean, and I don't want it to be too much of, this is,
Yeah.
it's obviously sad he's passed away, but we want it to be a celebration because, we want him. I want him to be remembered for his footballing ability. He was a phenomenal footballer. The rest of the stuff, obviously, that's, he had issues off the field. There's no doubt about that. But we need to remember him, what he was like on the pitch. He was, Argentina loved him. South America loved him. He pretty much everywhere. I mean, the world loved him. Apart from sort of
England.
Yeah. Apart from England with the sort of the goal in the night '86. But then I always sort of think after that goal, he scored the handball, and he's sort of gone, right, do you know what, I'm going to score a proper goal this time. And you're going to remember this, and you're going to remember this for the rest of your lives. So when people have gone, oh, he cheated, but no, he just followed that up with the greatest goal ever, you know what I mean? And
I think the main reason why, you see it as it's quite emotional and it's probably hit harder is because he was a character, and he was a flawed human being that everybody can associate with. If you think of the sports stars of today, they're kind of manufactured almost. If you think of we love Messi, we think he's the greatest player ever to live, and you think Messi doesn't get involved in these type of things other than taxes here and there. You think of Ronaldo, he's probably a little bit out there. You think of boxing, Anthony Joshua, he's a manufactured athlete. You do get the few mavericks, which are like your Tyson Furies, your Gazas, and Maradona falls in that category, the type of person that everyone can associate with, and I think that's why everyone loves him, because it reminds them of people that they know, maybe even remind them of themselves. You are totally, humans are totally flawed, and Maradona is exactly that. He was a flawed genius. I've heard that a few times, reading over the text messages. And flawed genius is just the perfect summary of him. And like you say, just the things that he'd done, I don't think anyone could repeat, or anyone will repeat, because I can't think, you think of Napoli, never won, I don't think they won a single trophy before he came along, and then won back-to-back titles with the quality of AC Milan around. And I know, obviously you'll have a bit more of an insight in this, knowing Italian football a little bit better, but someone summarised it. It was saying it was as if Birmingham City won the Premier League. He basically said it was a team from Birmingham, and not talking about Aston Villa, it would be Birmingham, Birmingham City going and winning the Premier League.
Yeah, no, I mean, that sounds about right. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the recent sort of Maradona film. Yeah, so I mean, the whole Napoli thing, it was a massive sort of north-south. I mean, we talk about north-south divide in England. There's a north-south divide, and Napoli was just basically, it was classed as a shithole. Do you know what I mean? But for Maradona to sort of leave Barca, go there, and he did what I don't know if I don't know if another player could do that again. And we talk about Messi as we both sort of see him as the greatest player.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Could you? I mean, it's like
happen again.
Nah, I mean, it's like us seeing, say, like Messi going to Burnley and Burnley winning the Premier League. I mean, it could happen, but I just think what he did was just on the pitch, not off the pitch, because the whole mafia thing. And if you watch the program and you've read up about him, he's obviously had issues around there and the drugs and stuff, which is we're not talking about that. We're talking about what he did on the pitch. I think what he did and how much influence he had on a club, until this day he is still revered as a god in Napoli. Do you know what I mean? And they just before we sort of got, and I saw I don't know how much truth in it as it is, but someone's put out that the president of Napoli said we will happily sort of change the name of the stadium.
Because apparently, like, what the Italians, it's a superstition in Italy that you don't generally name buildings or stadiums or anything like that after someone that's living. So that they were always thinking about doing that. So it looks like this is kind of pushed it along, if anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just one club, though. Do you know what I mean? I just think his actual complete history. He's obviously tried to be a manager. He was a shit manager. Doesn't matter how you put it up. You know what I mean?
He was as shit a manager as good a Valerio.
That's exactly. I mean, you got to give him the Argentina gig because it was Maradona. I mean, he could have asked for anything. He would have got it. Then he went to UAE. I mean, he did shit. I watched a program on Netflix when he was the Mexican, some club in Mexico manager. I mean, that was like second division Mexican football. Do you know what I mean? So everything is tried as a manager. He's not a manager, He is what you call a flawed genius, and on the pitch he did stuff that, you watch and I remember when I was a kid. I mean, I'm right-footed, and I try to be left-footed after watching him. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, you do the skills and stuff that he did, and he's like, there's those players that people of our sort of age will remember. As we were growing up, he was sort of in his 20s. You know what I mean? And he was, prime football, and that's when he was. But I always felt like that sort of 86 to 90, sort of mid-90s, that was his prime time. When he was at the top of his game, when he was literally no one could touch him.
Yeah, and then the World Cup, obviously, that, we've talked about it before in a previous podcast where, he runs up to the camera on the World Cup where you can see clearly gone at that point. You're talking about the period just before that.
I think the game against Greece, when he's obviously scored the goal where he's chopped it inside on his left foot and he's put it in the top corner, then he's gone and celebrating his eyes, you could see it. And I think just the emotion he showed there, that was probably the last time, it was the last time I think we saw him. That was the last time we saw him at the World Cup, and that was like his goodbye from football, so to speak. I mean, he obviously tried little gigs out here and there, but no special really.
Yeah, well, the good thing to come of this, if anything can come of it, is that the younger generation will get to see, all the clips. Everything will be relived, and they'll get to see how much of a genius he actually was. You can compare him. You can compare him to a Messi of back in the day. We always have a little laugh about football manager regens. If Maradona had died today and Messi had come along tomorrow, you'd be thinking it is just a reincarnation of the player. Obviously, the comparisons are always there, and both of them have had to live with those comparisons, and it's always unfair to compare back then. It's always subjective. Obviously, we'll go with Messi, but Maradona obviously didn't grow up in La Masia. He didn't grow up with the best technical people around him. He didn't grow up with the best pitchers. So again, it's unfair to compare them. And I don't think either of them really liked the comparison between each other. Back in, I think early in Messi's career, he always used to say, "I could never be as good as Maradona." And obviously he's gone on, in our opinion, to surpass him. But like we were saying there, nothing. I'm not sure whether Messi could do it, but again, it's comparing that generation back then. When I say Messi could do it, it'd be going to Birmingham City, for example, and winning the Premier League. You don't know the quality of opposition; it's completely changed. But the Naples thing, it's quite interesting that someone was mentioning that he left shortly after the 90 World Cup. Where when Argentina played against Italy in Naples. And apparently that was a pretty much a country divided, or at least
it was.
And they were saying that he was very clever. What a lot of people didn't realise that he was very clever off the pitch. So he basically played a lot of the Italians against each other. So you had the Naples saying that, oh well, they didn't, the rest of Italy didn't want to know Naples before, and this was I think it was the night before the actual game.
Yeah.
So you had a country divided, and then it came to a point where he just couldn't really come back.
Nah, yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, I just want to. We never sort of planned on having it too long, but I just want to sort of finish on. I mean, he came from the sort of. I mean, this is going to sound cliche. It's not cliche, and I don't want it to sound that.
We love a cliche.
Yeah, no, I know, but I don't. I think it deserves more sort of serious. And I know in the current sort of climate, I mean, Rashford obviously sort of, he's come from really struggling families, you know what I mean, and he's come through, and he's he's an England superstar, effectively. Mm-hmm. Maradona's. He grew up in the sort of slums of Argentina. He changed the world more than any football player, and influenced the football world and politics more than anyone I can remember. And I just want, you always say, dream whatever you want as a youngster. You can achieve anything. If Maradona can achieve that. There is a caveat against that. Obviously, he's got natural ability that no one will ever have again. That sort of natural ability, it's God given. You can't coach someone like that. You've got that. But it's just good to know that this great genius just came from basically nothing, and he reached the pinnacle of football. He reached the pinnacle of the world, and his name's gonna, he will go down in history as one of the greats. In 100 years, we'll still talk about him. Do you know what I mean? Alive.
Like his impact is up there with like the Muhammad Ali. Like that's the closest that I can see, like that transcends different sports. But yeah, I'm just absolutely gutted, and reading through all the tweets, everybody's just
it's one of those where I just feel like it's I agreed. I just think I feel it's going to go on for a few. It's going to go on for a few days, and I just think there's. I mean, Argentina will obviously do something, and Napoli will do something for him as well. But I just think the world, FIFA does some sort of, recognition.
Just a quick question before we end it. How do you think he would have been? Like, let's say he played in this modern era, alongside like the Messis and the Ronaldos. I can't help but I think he would have been the biggest superstar, because to me he's like a mix between Paul Gascoigne and Messi.
Yeah.
Like imagine social media and Maradona now.
He would have been perfect for this era in that his off-field dramas and his attitude, how he was, and so blunt to the establishment. He was just always the working man's player, you know what I mean? Whereas Ronaldo and Messi, you feel there's a disconnect, do you know what I mean? As much as they do, they've got hundreds of millions of followers and all that.
Maradona, get images,
yeah, but Maradona, you just knew he'd just go like, he will put family before anyone else, and he's a man of his word, and he did so much good stuff. I mean, I know I did say we're going to finish it, but just one last point. Pochettino's recent Monday Night Football, he said he was just like, he shared a room with him for about 6 months when he first broke into Newell's Old Boys, and he said the nicest thing about him wasn't his footballer, but he was an unbelievably nice human being, and that's a common theme from every sort of person who's been in contact with him. They obviously know he's a great player, but he's a great person. The drugs and stuff, he's obviously, that's an issue for, another day and talking about it. But I think as a human being, as a person, I think a lot of people had a lot of good things to say about him. And there's not many people you say, he was a dick or he was a twat. He just was a person who would do anything for you.
Yeah, Gaza said something similar as well. He was lining up in the tunnel. I think Gaza said, I went to Disneyland, and he said, I'd just been getting absolutely shit-faced for a few days before, and then I was lining up in the tunnel. Said something along the lines of that to Maradona, saying how hammered he was, and Maradona said, don't worry, Gaza, I'm exactly the same.
Oh, brilliant. On that point, we're going to wrap it up, okay? All right, guys. Until next time. I mean, I'm glad we're smiling. We're smiling, and it's just good to celebrate him. He was a genius, and let's just hope he's remembered as that. Until next week, guys. See you later.
See you later, guys.